That is,
Mhm.
yes. So thank you, Anna. I appreciate the opportunity and whatever little have experienced with good activists, neighbors, and friends
Yeah.
with the awesome process, awesome BMT for those 4 years. I'll be happy to share. Some of them are not so good. Some of them I wish somebody like an attorney had taken my case, and I would be happy to put my name on it and sue some of those people who wasted our time, as in some of our own leaders and stuff. But
Yeah.
here I am. Yeah. So um, I'm happy to answer questions, or if you want to set up the initial introduction or whatever, you take it
Um,
away.
sure. Okay. Well, I did the community ambassador training with Citizens Air Monitoring Network.
Yeah.
So we had 5 sessions learning about the issue, and then we each move ahead to do our own projects. And I mean, everybody, it's cool. I mean, because everybody sort of follows their own interests. Like Izzy's doing an art project, and other people are doing things with monitoring.
Yeah.
And my big interest is community history and archiving and documentation because these stories are just so important for people to learn from and to be inspired from. So
Exactly.
that's what I want to do about Orsum, but it's twofold. Like for this project, I want to just I'd like to just focus on Orsum, and I'm gonna speak with Paula and Liat later, and then Paul Winders is scheduled. But I mean, I know you're on the board of the museum. I want to work on collecting stories from Vallejo, recording more personal histories for the museum. Like somebody was telling me the other day about riding her horse down Georgia Street downtown. I mean,
Hmm.
it's amazing. There's so much great history here.
Yeah. For me, I
Mhm.
would say like three or four quick bullet summaries.
Okay.
Ken Zutsu, who is a leading engineering and a rational brain, he's like a
Yeah.
mini Robert McConnell, Mayor McConnell for me.
Mhm.
I really admire his analysis, his knowledge, and his wisdom.
Yeah.
And I wish he could speak more articulate like me. I wish he had that, but he doesn't. But
Well,
he's very
we all contribute in different ways, though.
yeah.
I mean, like I'm more a behind the scenes sort of person. I'm more interested in doing stuff like this, and then we have people like you that are more interested well, I mean, that are good at being out in front. So,
So he's one I can recall. I had great knowledge and information watching him, listening to him, reading his letters to the editor, and talking to him as a neighbor and friend. And
yeah.
the second person that I equally benefited with the immense knowledge is Jimmy Sarmiento,
Oh,
who
yeah.
is a Fresh Air Vallejo excellence number two there. And
Yeah.
of course, I have interacted with Paula Bauer
Yeah.
and Liat and a whole bunch of others. I
Yeah.
had a chance to participate in many of their marches and gatherings and events that disputed the claims made by RSEM
Mhm.
in terms of the number of jobs it could benefit, the impact on the community and the environment, um, how much money it's actually going to bring, and all of the detail that was constantly exaggerated by either the consultant or the RSM group themselves, or unfortunately by the four of the five RSM four, as we called it,
Yeah.
city council members. And I'll be quite candid about it. I don't hate any of them. They're all my friends.
Yeah.
But some of the decisions and the voting they did because of the funding they received for the campaigns and or other things,
Mhm.
unfortunately, dragged this out for 3 to 4 years. It wasted so much of the council's time and money, eventually defeated, and this project never came to fruition. So that's the sadness I carry.
Mhm.
I wish that kind of amount of money, staff time, money, energy, and effort would have easily built two navigation centers for today. So
Yeah.
that's the first initial comment. I will pause so you can ask me a question or a comment.
Okay. So how did you first find so okay, so how was it announced? How did you first find out about Orsum? And so Orsum is the name of the company, correct?
Right,
Okay.
right.
And was this announced to the public or was it kind of undercover or?
I think it was clear from the beginning, and the entity started having public meetings at JFK Library, Joseph's Room, or something similar. And some of the activists started posting and sharing thoughts at City Hall, City Council meeting, that this is not bringing as many jobs, money, tax dollars, and raise the profile of Vallejo as much as they claim to be kind of deal. There's always a disconnect, right? They claim some exaggerated stuff, and the people want to know all the details. Is it all going to be local jobs? Are you going to bring people from other cement factories from other states or countries and put them in there and claim that you have that kind of jobs? Things like that.
Mhm.
And then at the farmers market, I think both sides had mostly the activists, but sometimes the other entities who wanted to bring the project had a information booth per se, just like the political campaigns, where people can go and ask questions and express their concerns and know more about it.
Yeah.
And of course, the Jumpstart was big on promoting it, and the unions and Jumpstart, they were a big part of it.
Can you
And
say
I
who
learned
Jumpstart was?
Jumpstart is John Riley and Company in Napa. I'm trying to remember the full expansion of the entity. Um, it's the group led by John Riley, you know.
Sure.
So those are some folks. And then as it changed and progressed into the next 2 years of the council, because the council changed and we first time had a district election there,
Mhm.
2018, 2020.
Oh, yeah.
We had other folks, and that is when I also met you, you know, with
Yeah.
the Hakim's group and stuff. And so
Oh, I met you before that though. I
I
remember.
don't remember. I don't
Oh, well,
remember at the
you know
museum,
so
but no.
oh yeah, you know so many people and I'm just sort of more quiet. But yeah, yeah, I talked with you. You talked with me a lot about sister cities. That's where I first met you. But yeah.
Positive, yeah, positive. Yeah. So when some of our own folks appear to our own folks, meaning friends, activists, leaders, nonprofit, founders, etc., that you and I know,
Mhm.
they were all had the chance to read, review, understand what this project is. Is it really feasible? Is it really bringing all the stuff they promise, etc.? We all had the equal opportunity. And I don't claim any expertise in any of the other fields, although I have engineering background
Mhm.
many years ago. But the best of what I learned about this was mostly from other experts, other leaders, other people like Ken and Ann Carr, and we had two other leaders who are no longer here now in Vallejo. But those guys did a very thorough analysis, brought a lot of questions, and asked the then mayor Davis and other council members
Mhm.
frequently questions on justify this. How do you even let them have the permit, let them have this public meeting, let them advance to the next stage, and on and on. So I would say I learned more from all of these entities, and the more I learned, the more I did not feel that this is a good one for Vallejo. And I simply didn't, throw my hat into my friends circle or group just because I'm with all of them and stuff. But some of it really brought some disagreements too,
What were some
uh,
of the disagreements?
disagreements in terms of the number of jobs it brings,
Yeah.
the fact that it doesn't bring in enough tax dollars. It's
Yeah.
going to pollute our atmosphere, pollute our where it is going to be located, close to the schools and the seniors who have other health challenges and issues, things like that. Mostly those 3 to 5 of those main reasons.
Yeah.
And I tended to agree to my conscience and my intelligence what those claims appear to be compared to what the politicians were pushing. Unfortunately, most of the various stages of its development and progress through the city council over a 3-year period lasted with a 4-3 or a 5-2 vote with someone like Mayor McConnell. At the time, council member McConnell was like the only rational person who would question intelligently a lot of things before any such project could be vetted and approved for implementation. So
You need to go through the
I'm
planning commission first, or before it went to council, or I know.
good question. I'm glad that you reminded me of the planning commission because I totally forgot about that for a moment. So they had at least 3 or 4 engineers in the planning commission at that time, and most of them, when they thoroughly studied all the pros and cons at in-depth, deep levels to make a recommendation to the council. So did the Sierra Club, and so did other entities that were stakeholders. They all appeared to generally, school districts included. I would say 5 or 6 of the main stakeholders out of the 7 or 8, they all strongly disputed the claims made by the project folks. And the council, although they would listen to all these public comments and emails and letter to the editors and challenges, somehow the 4 or 5 of the 7 people appeared to always vote one way, like a rubber stamping, no matter what. And it made progress from year number 1 to year number 3.5. One of those city council meetings lasted until 1:38 a.m. I thought that was a record at the time during Mayor Davis's time.
Yeah.
But we saw about 1.5 years ago, 3:08, when the Mare Island 157 acres was sold for $3 million for a song. That day discussion, all of the presentation, it lasted till 3:08. I was sitting there till 1:32. I said, what the heck? I'm not going to sleep. Let me stay and see what happens. And at the end, we were all so disappointed. So it followed the general trend. And I'm going to make this somewhat controversial statement because it's a private interview, but I don't mind saying respectfully.
But Ravi, this is for a project. This will be public.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay.
My views are already out there in public and in comments.
Just making sure.
I want to say that I'm very disappointed with my friends from the Filipino American community who were sitting on the city council, Jess Malgapo, Pipin Du, Harmi Sunga, and Mayor Davis, and I think initially even Aaron Hannigan. I was so sad that why would they not listen to majority of the people, what they're saying? And then they can always vote their conscience and the best of their judgment, because they are supposed to look out for the public interest, not the party they belong to or who funded their campaign, etc. So I had the disappointment throughout those 3 years. And then I'm friends with them. I helped with some of their campaigns. I posted their signs during their campaign run. But I was disappointed that they voted that way too much against the public. And it took the public and the activists' will and persistence to really defeat that whole project. So I'm going to pause for a second here so you can, rephrase anything, concerns or questions.
Yeah. So it sounds like when you first heard about the project, and this is good. You were ready to, it sounds like you really looked at all the information. You didn't make up your mind right away.
No, I didn't make up. In fact, I initially, like a lot of people, another new company or new project. It's going to be good for Vallejo is what generally occurred to me. But within the second or third meeting, when I heard about 8 or 10 activists on the public forum, a couple of real letters to the editor, and someone as a smart and engineering brain as Ken Zutsu and Jimmy Sarmiento, and I heard some of the environmental health concerns from people like Liat, I started to think differently. And in my own verification, it didn't make more sense to me,
Yeah. Well, yeah, because when I mean, I moved to town when it was right. Well, I mean, it was happening, and I just wanted to figure it out because I could. I mean, Vallejo needs businesses, Vallejo needs jobs, and it's like such a bully sort of thing. I mean, people think that they can just come here and like give Vallejo a couple jobs and it'll be okay,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
but it's hard. We need better, and
See, the overall needs and benefits, if you look at that balance of needs and benefit,
yeah,
it has multiple layers. It's not just one person, a
yeah,
mayor, for example, or one group of a nonprofit. Some other example you can think of. It is not about that. It's about the 128,000 people in Vallejo
yeah,
whose lives are affected by it permanently.
yeah.
And a very careful balance consideration has to be given. That is the big moral responsibility of
Yeah,
most of the leadership, and sometimes our leadership have failed us miserably, and
yeah,
they get away with it. They retire, take their benefits, and play golf or go to Vegas, whatever they do.
yeah,
I'm not jealous of that, but they did not deliver. They got away without accountability. But if you and I do the same mistake in a project, in our jobs, we'll
yeah,
be fired next day.
yeah, 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 yeah. Did any of them give, I mean, did this, oh, okay, so because I'm on the Measure P commission now. Um,
Mhm, mhm.
and a lot of people feel very strongly about the bonds and our role. We got that presentation in the Measure P commission, and we voted. I mean, and I voted. We all our responsibility, or our role was to just pass it along to council. I mean, I would not feel like, like, yeah, I got my own opinion, but I don't feel like anybody with something so big and complicated, it needs to be somebody that sees the whole picture. So, like with the planning commission, did you feel like people there were had good intentions?
I knew probably 3 to 4 out of the 5 or 7 planning commissioners at that time.
Hmm.
A couple of them really well, some of them professionally and stuff.
Yeah,
And I trusted their judgment. I trusted their engineering background and then their overall feeling. They wouldn't simply plainly say no. This is a major, big project, and they had a big responsibility to make the right recommendation for the city council because it will affect even after these guys leave the commission.
yeah,
So I believe they did the right thing consistently for those 2, maybe 3 years in a row. And so did the school district in opposing this plan because it affects the schools in that area and many other issues connected with it.
yeah,
And I support the senior citizen groups that continuously felt, based on scientific studies made on which direction most of the flue gases and particulates would flow, no matter which direction the wind is blowing. They had studies to it. It's not just made up. And based on those, many of those concerns were very valid.
yeah,
I remember marching in the with and holding signs with several people,
yeah,
2 or 4 people at a time in farmers markets and at several events and stuff, and then peaceful protests in front of City Hall and stuff. It
yeah,
was just about the same concern, and I also looked at who are all showing up.
yeah,
Of course, some of them who wanted to be there couldn't be there because of work and our family obligations, but most of them were very passionate activists who spent, I would say, at this point, taking a 4 year period, a couple of 100 hours
oh
of their
yeah,
personal time,
yeah,
not paid even a dime.
yeah,
The
yeah,
city staff and the council members' taximeter of payment and a paycheck was running. We many of us didn't, and then it's not easy and common to find that kind of a sacrifice for so long a period of time. So I'm really disappointed that at one point I asked Attorney Paula Bauer,
yeah,
Attorney Stephen Hallett, Attorney Brian Harrell, and there's one other attorney I can't remember the name. that I'm willing to put my name out there, a lawsuit against how much time this couple of city staff and 4 council members are wasted for the city, and they should be held accountable. Put my name, but I don't have money to pay for legal. If you can help me with the legal part, I will be willing to put my name out there and stuff. They were all laughing. It takes a couple of years, forget about it. They will be finishing their term,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. It never happened. I'm not saying this as a bragging point, but that is how far I felt I should be willing to go, believing in the overall not so good thing that this project might bring to Vallejo. And I'm glad that it got defeated. I feel justice in the East Indian culture, the Dharma, the word Dharma implies justice and equity, eventually prevailed, you know. What other things I'm trying to think?
Okay,
In terms of the noise and pollution, the rail track that will carry X number of cement factory stuff around town kind of also came into being. I forgot some of the details, but even that was highly exaggerated by the people who wanted to bring the project, but people had made a better practical analysis based on facts, you know. So that was also defeated.
So there were letters to the editor, there were marches, there was speaking at council. Were there ever meetings or contacts with county and state leaders? Did anybody else get involved?
I believe so. I may not remember some of the details. I'm sure at 1 or 2 levels, both the on another matter, I know they went to the not the district attorney, what's the attorney general, AG, at one point. So I'm sure that happened. I remember in one case when the particulate matter that will settle in the district when the cement factory is operating came up. And then sadly, our Rosanna Verda Liga, our council member, although her specialization is in psychology, working for the county, she had gone to some private consultant. I don't remember details now, and in a separate report that that kind of tried to, how can I say, defer. I know if it's like, is it daytime or nighttime? If you ask the question, is it yes or no, good or bad, right or wrong? But they tried to give a deflective answer. Neither this nor that kind of answer. So she presented a short little report on that states it won't settle up to a certain height on the, if you're from ground level up, if you count X number of feet, something like that came up. And one public comment person came up and asked, all the school children who are going to think they are 6 feet, 7 feet, like you and me. They are not. They're young children. It settles down when they're playing in the playground or they're running around in classroom at their height. It will affect them right away. How contradictory this is, and how can you say and try to deflect the answer kind of came up. I wish if anybody plays that video from the city archives, you will have the question. I remember at that time, Ken Zutsu made really good, and he's very straightforward, and he reads it like an engineering script, without any personal attacks. And he was really shining in those 2 or 3 public forums. Another candidate that I remember is a young school teacher, I believe, and the mother of a young child, a couple of children, Gladys Castillo. Coming from the same background as Rosanna, she really presented a couple of facts and questioned her, how can you so blatantly say this it is? And there was no good answer. They were all nodding their head and they were trying to brush it aside, and so it was sad. Those 2 things stand out in my head.
I'm just putting down I'm putting down names of people that you're mentioning to contact for their recollections as well.
Actually, if you look on any of the old Facebook posts, Gladys, Gladtz, unusual first name, Castillo. So you'll find a lot of that. And if I have saved some of that in a little folder, I will gather all of that and send it in an email to you, or just give you a printout or something like that. That way you can use it for your purpose.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Vallejo was just people were just on their own for that, you know. I mean, like it wasn't, you know, I mean, there were nobody took the case on pro bono. I mean, it was just true citizen activism. And
Absolutely. I think all of the activists who took, Jean Ballard, Liz, there were two other ex-planning commission. I'm trying to think of their name. Really strong. The first year and two, I mean, they just challenged Osby Davis in so many ways. He was trying to defer and trying to, constantly give opportunity for the other side against all the outcry and requests and stuff. So I think it's the people's and citizens' victory.
Mhm.
And because of that, the other projects, they had to be more careful. This
Yeah,
car factory, there was supposed to be a
yeah,
car factory. They put some money down, and after 6 months, they withdrew the case and lost their deposit. And there was another one that didn't even start.
yeah,
Um, I think it has, if there is anything that we can think of, I would think of it build some strong network and friendship and activism in locally among the people themselves.
yeah,
That's the one strong point I see, and I have experienced some of it myself.
yeah,
And the other one is what you just mentioned. The other project that are supposed we had to get a really good or a better project that is more realistic and would listen to the community before it could be fruition. And that's when the Nimitz group came in, and we have seen since then.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, this is wonderful, Ravi. I mean, again, I mean, there's a lot of great people that I'll be talking to, and I mean, it'll be good because everybody just expresses themselves so differently. So we're just going to have different voices and memories in here. Um,
At one point, we had a huge billboard sign, the RSM4 and their pictures and how they voted. And when this was all concluding in favor of the people, it wasn't necessarily shaming. You know how sometimes Americans they
yeah,
don't want to shame, they act like they want to be, everything was hunky dory. And
yeah,
one thing I remember was one former mayor saying, so and so, this thing is incredible. The word incredible, amazing, unbelievable.
yeah,
They've used it like every other word was these three words. And I was at one time in my podium talk or whatever, I said, if it was that incredible and amazing and so on, why would there be so many problems, issues, and concerns? Tell me in honesty, and they didn't have a good answer. So,
yeah,
so I,
yeah,
I wouldn't condemn, like some of the immigrant, culturally born people like me,
mhm,
extreme, but I would polish it respectfully, but admit mistake is a mistake.
yeah,
If we don't even admit a mistake and an error, we could do better, is a better term than saying it was incredible, it was amazing, it was perfect. It is not. And that's the part. There is a little bit of a false and exaggerated pride that sometimes communities or entities or politicians have.
yeah,
And after all of that, all you have today is, I may have made a mistake. I can give the example of the police department thing when the former mayor's time, some of us were asking, how about if you apologize on behalf of the police? The police will never admit mistake because it's the culture.
yeah,
They will say, we did everything right. We didn't do anything wrong. That's a
yeah,
standard. And um, that, although it appears neutral and they disappear,
mhm,
they don't have to give all the gory details of a mistake and an error, but they simply have to have the humility to say, I may have made a mistake. So if it is in your opinion, the public, please forgive me.
yeah,
I will try to improve upon it. Kind of a simple statement, even if it's a written statement read out like stone, stone faced, but they don't. And so what that does is it loses building trust, and they don't. It will never be unlike an equal. It's a distrusting relationship. Without that friendship and trust, how can people receive and give service to the public? We need to trust our people. If we don't trust our own siblings or parents or our families, it will never work, right?
Then you're
So
all
it's one of
alone. Yeah.
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 So it's one of those things. It's sad.
Yeah. So tonight I just watched the forum with Roz and Jackie Elward. I know you've been posting about her a lot.
It was already over. Was there one? Was it
Um,
where?
yeah, I'll send it to you. It was Community Democratic Club. It was on YouTube.
Oh, CDC. Okay.
Yeah.
Many of my friends were asking why, although I'm a generally, left-leaning liberal Democrat all my life, people were asking me, why don't you join? And I was like, all these 15 years, there are three Democratic clubs for a small town like Vallejo. I don't want three divisions. I want them to be a one unit. Democratic Party is Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And we can have subcommittees, but the teachers on one side and the other groups on another side and the blacks on the third side. It never got into one. So I didn't want to get into any one of them. I have friends in all three. So
Yeah, me too. Well, I'm in a couple of them. I mean, I think that people do come together, but I think the clubs can be good for people that maybe aren't so comfortable if
yeah,
they like can get more comfortable with their friends, maybe because a lot of people just aren't used to politics at all. So I think that's the benefit of the clubs. But yeah, I mean, we should be able to come together. We should.
yeah.
And people sure did for some.
The common goal and the common interest and the welfare of the larger group
Yeah,
should not be compromised and should always be the common voting yes by all seven, including the mayor.
yeah,
And it has not been that way. Very rarely, I would say,
yeah,
there has been 7-0 on major issues that I can recall. 20 years, three different mayors, and I'm like, that I find it to be a flaw. So
yeah,
RSM was no exception. It was one of the most divisive um, by these campaign funding groups, unfortunately. And it has really hurt our city. And of course, it has made us a little stronger, and activism has grown bigger
yeah.
because of all of that.
Oh, it really
And so,
did. Yeah, yeah.
I remember the name now, Judy. Judy, she was an engineer herself, a project leader and a planning commission and chair at one point. Judith or Judy. She was in our neighborhood many years ago. I think she retired and moved with her grandchildren or something like that out of state.
Hmm.
But she was one of the very strong early leaders I remember.
Hmm.
Any other questions on ORSM?
No, not at the moment. No. I mean, we can always meet up again if you think of other things you want to say. I mean, this is going to take me a little while. I'm meeting with Paula and Liat on Sunday, and then this might wind up being a PowerPoint. And so I'm also just researching and going back and looking at articles from the time because, I mean, of course, the idea is that this is going to need to be for somebody that doesn't know anything about it. So trying to just really start at the beginning.
I may find some interesting things that I will,
Okay.
not overwhelmingly, but just a few that I can think of. I
Okay.
will gather and send it your way so you can use it for your overall
That would
summary.
be wonderful, Ravi. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you. And I
yeah.
appreciate you taking that initiative to document and put it in history
Yeah.
and put all the perspective in place. And hopefully, um, other folks will look into things like that and make better decisions, and even bigger and better decisions than many of us, the older activists. So thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Ravi. You have a good night.
Bye bye.
Bye.